Namaste everyone, I'm your co-host Shawnee ma'am. Welcome to your favorite learning channel. The topic for today's video is simple permanent tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma. So, under the simple permanent tissue section, we will be discussing in detail about parenchyma and collenchyma only today, and the sclerenchyma part would be taken up in our next video. So in our previous video, we had already discussed about the simple permanent tissue and we had seen a general overview of the same. So by that we know that the permanent tissues in which the cells are similar in structure, origin and function are called the simple permanent tissues. And we also know that this simple permanent tissue, so this simple permanent tissue are of three types, that is parenchyma, then there is collenchyma, and finally there is sclerenchyma. This also we had covered. So today in this section we would be only discussing about parenchyma tissue and collenchyma tissue in detail, and in our next segment of video we would be discussing about sclerenchyma tissue in detail. Okay. So starting with parenchyma at first, let's see what is this parenchyma tissue. Parenchyma tissue. So in this section we would first study about the nature of parenchyma tissue. Okay. So this parenchyma is actually derived from a Greek word. Okay, that is para, which is a Greek word, and what does it mean? It means side. Okay, and another word, that is enchyma. So enchyma means, it means in filling. Okay, so these two are Greek words, para which means side and enchyma is also a Greek word which means in filling. So parenchyma tissue is the precursor of all the other tissues. We had already discussed this in our previous video. So the parenchyma tissue, it is a living cell. Parenchyma tissue is what? It is a living cell consisting of unspecialized cells. It consists of what? Consists of unspecialized cells, and these cells are present with thin cell walls. Okay, so this is the parenchyma tissue, and the cell walls are usually made of, cell wall is made of what? It is made of cellulose. Okay, and the cells are loosely packed with intercellular spaces between them. And cells, how are they packed? They are loosely packed. That is, they have intercellular spaces are present between the cells because they are loosely packed. Okay. Then the parenchyma cells are isodiametric. So the cells are isodiametric. That is they are more or less equally expanded on all the sides, and this is called isodiametric shape. So these cells could be either, they could be oval or spherical They could be oval or spherical or polygonal in shape, and they are isodiametric. These are the different types of shape they can have, but all the cells are mostly isodiametric. That means more or less they are equally expanded on all the sides. And these cells, these parenchyma cells, the cells contain dense cytoplasm and distinct nucleus and a large central vacuole. There is a large central vacuole is also present in them. Okay. Then after that, let's talk about the location. Okay. So now we would be discussing about the location of the parenchyma tissues. So the parenchyma tissues are distributed in all parts of the plant body, such as they can be present in stem, root, leaves, they can be present in flowers, fruits or seeds, etc. Okay, so these are the locations, that is, they are distributed in all the parts of the plant body. Now, the parenchyma tissue is also found in soft parts. In soft parts like the soft parts of the plant, like the cortex of roots, then in the ground tissues, they are present in the ground tissues, in stem and in mesophyll of the leaves. Okay, and the parenchyma tissue is also found in, where? They can also be found in the pith, in packing tissues, in the packing tissues, in xylem and in phloem. Okay, so these are the different locations where parenchyma tissue can be found. Now let's see what are the different types of parenchyma. The different types of parenchyma tissue. So there are different types of parenchyma tissues, and they are, one is parenchyma, then there is Collenchyma, then there is storage parenchyma, and there is stellate parenchyma. Okay, so these are the various different types of parenchyma tissues. So in water, or the plants that are present in water, that is the aquatic plants, they have parenchyma. So in water plants, the parenchyma is found in cortex region. Parenchyma, where is it present? It is present in the cortex region with large intercellular spaces. Okay, having large intercellular spaces which are known as air spaces. Okay, so this air-filled parenchyma tissue is called parenchyma tissue. It is known as parenchyma tissue. Okay, so parenchyma tissue is a parenchyma tissue which are present in aquatic plants in their cortex region that have large intercellular spaces which are known as the air spaces. Okay, so the parenchyma tissue can be seen in aquatic plants like, let's say, for example, in hydrilla. Hydrilla is an aquatic plant that has parenchyma tissue. Then, in some green parts of plants, in certain green parts of plants, the parenchyma cells have these parenchyma cells, they have the chloroplasts. Okay, they have chloroplasts, and these cells are known as Collenchyma tissue. Okay, or Collenchyma cells. Okay, that are present in the green parts of the plants which have chloroplasts in them. Then the parenchyma cells, they can store parenchyma cells that can store, okay, starch grains. They can store the starch grains. They are called the storage parenchyma. Okay, so the storage parenchyma cells are seen in stem and root tubers. Alright, then in some plants like in banana, etc., the petioles possess, in some plants like, for example, in banana, what happens? The petioles, they possess star-shaped parenchyma cells. Star-shaped parenchyma cells, and these cells are known as the stellate parenchyma. Okay, so these are the 4 types of parenchyma that we had listed. Now after that, let's see what are the functions performed by parenchyma tissue. So the functions of parenchyma. Let's see what are the different functions performed by parenchyma tissue. Okay, so there are many functions of parenchyma tissues, like it provides support to plants, provides support to plants. Okay, then what does it do? So the parenchyma of stems, the parenchyma of what? Of stems and roots, they can store food. They store food, nutrients, and also they can store water. Okay, then The Collenchyma cells contain they contain chlorophyll, we had already discussed, and thus they help to perform what? They help in performing the process of photosynthesis. Okay. Then the Parenchyma cells, they have large intercellular spaces called air spaces that we had discussed, and thus they give buoyancy. They give buoyancy to aquatic plants. Okay, so they give buoyancy to the aquatic plants so that they can float easily on the surface of water. Okay, so that they can float on the surface of water. Then the intercellular spaces in Parenchyma allow the movement. The intercellular spaces in Parenchyma tissue allow the movement of gaseous exchange. Okay, they allow gaseous exchange to take place. Then the transport of material occurs through the cells or cell walls of the Parenchyma. Okay, transport of materials. They help in transport of materials. Okay, so that this transport of materials they occur through the cells or cell walls of Parenchyma, that occurs through cells or the cell walls of Parenchyma tissue. Then the main function of Parenchyma is to serve as storage tissue. It serves as a storage tissue. Okay, and it also helps to assimilate. It helps in assimilation. It assimilates food. Okay, then the Parenchyma acts as primary support to the stem. It acts as primary support to the stem. Then apart from this, the Parenchyma tissue helps to store waste products. It helps to store waste products, okay, of plants like gums, resins, tannins, etc. Then the Parenchyma also serves as a packaging tissue. It also serves as the packaging tissue. Okay, it serves as a packaging tissue in order to maintain the shape and rigidity of the plants. Then, in dry plants, parenchymatous tissue help to store water. In dry plants, parenchyma helps in storage of what? Storage of water. It helps in storage of water and it also helps in the storage of mucilage. Okay, so these are some of the important functions that are performed by the parenchyma tissue. Now let's study about the collenchyma tissue. Okay, then the collenchyma tissue. First, under collenchyma tissue, let's talk about the nature of the collenchyma tissue. So, this collenchyma is also derived from a Greek word. Okay, the Greek word that is kola, which means glue. Okay, so kola is a Greek word from which collenchyma is derived, and kola means glue. So the collenchyma tissue is a type of simple permanent tissue. It consists of living cells. Collenchyma consists of living cells, and usually the collenchyma tissue, they are mechanical tissue. Okay, so the collenchyma tissue is a mechanical tissue, and they are similar to parenchyma except that it is characterized by the deposition of extracellulose at the corners. So they have extracellulose at the corners, of their cells. Okay, otherwise they are similar to parenchyma tissue. Okay, then the collenchyma cells are elongated in shape. How are the cells? They are elongated in shape. Then generally the intercellular spaces are absent. Generally intercellular spaces, they are absent in collenchyma tissue. Some collenchyma cells also contain chloroplasts. So some collenchyma also have chloroplast in them. Okay, so this is about the nature of collenchyma tissue. Now let's see about their occurrence. So where do they occur? In plants. Occurrence. Okay, so generally they are found where? Generally they are found below the epidermis, of dicot stem, and petiole. Okay, so the collenchyma tissues can also be found. They can also be found where? They can also be found in the midrib region. In the midrib region of dicot leaves. Okay, then generally the collenchyma tissues are absent in, generally they are absent in monocot leaves, stem and roots. Okay, so generally collenchyma tissue are absent in monocot leaves, stem and roots. Now that we have studied about the occurrence of collenchyma tissue, let's talk about their functions. The functions of collenchyma tissue. Okay, so the main functions of collenchyma tissues are that the collenchymatous tissues, they give flexibility They are flexible. They provide the flexibility and tensile strength. Tensile strength to plants. Then the collenchymatous tissues, they allow easy bending. They allow easy bending in various parts of a plant. In various parts of a plant, like leaf, stem, without, this is important, that they help in bending of various parts of the plant without causing them to break. Okay. Then the collenchymatous tissues provide mechanical support to the plants. Mechanical support to plants is provided by the collenchymatous tissues. Okay. Then the collenchymatous tissues containing chloroplasts. So collenchyma containing chloroplast. Those collenchymatous tissue that have chloroplasts are also useful in manufacturing. Okay, they are useful in manufacturing sugar and starch in plants. Okay, so these are the various important functions of collenchyma tissues. Now let's quickly revise everything that we have studied today. So today we discussed about parenchyma and collenchyma tissues that are the type of simple permanent tissues, and we have discussed about these tissues in detail. So we had already studied that the simple permanent tissues are those in which the cells are of similar structure, origin and function. And we had also studied that the simple permanent tissue can further be divided into three types, that is the parenchyma tissue, collenchyma tissue and sclerenchyma tissue. So today we only discussed about parenchyma and collenchyma tissues in detail. In our next video we will be discussing about the sclerenchyma tissues. So we begin with the parenchyma tissue. So first we studied about the nature. So the parenchyma is derived from a Greek word where para means site and enchyma means infilling. So what happens is parenchyma is the precursor of all other tissues. So the parenchyma tissue is a living cell that consists of some unspecialized cells, and these cells have thin cell walls, and the cell wall is usually made up of cellulose, and the cells of parenchyma tissues are loosely packed with intercellular spaces. Okay, so the intercellular spaces are present as they are loosely packed. The cells are isodiametric, which means they are more or less equally expanded on all sides, and they could be either oval or spherical or polygonal in shape. So these cells of parenchyma tissues, they contain dense cytoplasm and distant nucleus, and there is a large central vacuole present in these cells. Then we studied about the location of parenchyma tissues. So the parenchyma tissues, they are distributed in all parts of the plant body, such as in stem, roots, leaves, flowers, fruits, seeds, etc. Then they are also present in soft parts of the plants like the cortex of fruits, in ground tissues, in stem, and then mesophyll of the leaves. And apart from these, they are also found in pith and in packing tissues in xylem and phloem. Then we studied about the different types of parenchyma tissues. There are 4 types of parenchyma tissues and they are Parenchyma, Collenchyma, storage parenchyma and stellate parenchyma tissues. So what happens in water plants, that is in aquatic plants, the parenchyma is present in their cortex region and they have large air spaces or large intercellular spaces, and these large intercellular spaces are known as air spaces, and such type of tissue present in aquatic plants are known as parenchyma tissue. For example, they are present in aquatic plant like in hydrilla. Then in some green parts of the plants, the parenchyma tissue contains chloroplast, and such type of parenchyma tissue is known as Collenchyma tissue. Then some of the parenchyma cells, they store starch grains, and those kind of parenchyma cells or parenchyma tissues are known as storage parenchyma. Then in some plants like in banana, the petioles possess star-shaped parenchyma cells, and such are known as stellate parenchyma. Then we discussed about the various functions of parenchyma tissue. So this parenchyma tissue, it actually provides support to the plants. Then the parenchyma tissue that is present in stems and in roots, they help in storage of food, nutrients, water. Then the Collenchyma cells, they have chloroplasts in them, and thus they help in performing photosynthesis in plants. Then the Parenchyma cells, they have these air spaces that we discussed, that is the large intercellular spaces that provide buoyancy to the aquatic plants and help them to float on the surface of water. Then the intercellular spaces present in parenchyma tissues, they allow the gaseous exchange. Then the parenchyma tissues, they also help in transport. They help in transport of materials, and this transport of materials occurs through the cells or the cell walls of the parenchyma. Then the main function of parenchyma is to serve as a storage tissue and help in assimilation of food. Then it also acts as the primary support to the stem, and it helps in storage of waste products in plants, like in storage of gums, resins, tannins, etc. Then the parenchyma tissue also serves as a packaging tissue to fill the spaces between the tissues in order to maintain the shape and rigidity of plants. Then in dry plants, these parenchyma tissue, it helps in storage of water and mucilage. So these are some of the important functions performed by parenchyma tissues. Then we also discussed about Collenchyma. So first, talking about the nature of Collenchyma, Collenchyma is also derived from a Greek word where colla means glue. Then these Collenchyma cells are living cells, and this tissue, that is Collenchyma tissue, is a mechanical tissue. So what these Collenchyma tissues, they are similar to parenchyma tissues, but there is an exception that the cells of Collenchyma tissue, they have extracellulose deposition at the corners of the cells. Then the cells of Collenchyma tissues are elongated. Generally, the intercellular spaces are absent in Collenchyma, and some Collenchyma have chloroplasts. Then we discussed about the occurrence of Collenchyma. So generally, Collenchyma tissue is present below the epidermis of dicot stem and in petiole, and they are also found in the midrib region of the dicot leaves, but generally they are absent in monocot leaves, stem and roots. Then we discussed about the functions of Collenchyma. So this Collenchyma tissue usually gives flexibility and tensile strength to the plants. So by this flexibility and tensile strength, what happens is it becomes easy for bending of different parts of the plants, and this bending doesn't cause breaking. So the ability of the plants, various parts of the plants, to bend without breaking is the property provided by Collenchyma tissue. Then the Collenchyma tissue is a mechanical tissue we had already discussed, so it provides mechanical support to the plants. Then the collenchyma tissue that contains chloroplast, they help in the manufacturing of sugar and starch. So these are some of the important functions performed by the collenchyma tissue. So I hope you all would have got some great insights by watching today's video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Till then, thank you for watching.